Burnout doesn't just stay with the person that feels burnt out. It's actually contagious. It spreads to everybody else on the team. If you look at the stats, it shows that about 65 to 75% of people feel like they're burnt out. So what happens when people are feeling that way is that the work ends up shifting to other people on their team. And then those people start to feel burnt out because now they're doing more than one person's work. Sometimes the person doesn't even have to leave the company. I've seen this plenty of times where the person is so burnt out that they can't keep up with the work that they're doing. And so their work shifts to everybody else. So even though the person is actually still there, the rest of the team has to pick up the slack. That is what ends up becoming contagious for people to feel like their morale is down. They don't really feel connected to the work and like they might want to actually leave their jobs. One of the things that really comes up a lot is urgency. So we create a false sense of urgency a lot of times. This is a good question to ask your team is where are you creating urgency when there's not really urgency needed? Does it really need to be done ASAP? Because when people see that acronym inside of an email, it can completely change their mood. And maybe that they don't interpret it as soon as possible. They interpret it as right now. That's typically what ASAP means. So if you actually don't need it ASAP, then my recommendation is don't use that acronym. If you have a specific time that you need that thing done, then be explicit about whatever that time is. It gives your employees a much better sense of when they need to do something by. It doesn't mean that they're going to have to pull over on the side of the road to answer your email just because you said you needed it ASAP. So if anybody does this well, is Google. Google has done so much research around team bonding and what actually ends up sticking. If you look at, you can type in their Project Aristotle. What actually ends up sticking with teams is the psychological safety factor, which is a fancy way of just saying trust. If teams don't feel trust with each other, the people on the team with their manager, then they're not going to have a good time at work. So this is really where it gets to being at the group level. If you really have managers that are withholding their knowledge, withholding their ideas, expecting people to just figure it out, then it's going to take a lot longer. Where Google sees in its Project Aristotle that things get better is when people actually are communicating. They're not disagreeing in the hallways. They're actually talking to each other. And that's where the trust begins to build. It can be little things like ending meetings on time, following up with what you said, actually remembering what you said if you're a boss and are telling your employees to do something and then they do it. When they do that thing, the idea is to not get mad at them once they've done it that way because you were the one who told them to do it that way. So this is also something that I know we're human and things like this come into play sometimes, but that's the things that end up burning people out is when managers aren't consistent with their own behavior or when they're actually gaslighting their employees because they don't actually remember what they said. Trust is actually destroyed between inconsistency between words and action. So if you're a supervisor and you're not following through on exactly what you said that you were going to do, when you were going to do it by, then there's going to be mistrust that happens there. Even if you say that you're going to get something done by Friday and then you can't get it done by Friday, you communicating that you can't get it done by Friday will be enough for your team to rebuild that trust or to maintain that trust with you because you're actually communicating about what's going on rather than saying that you're going to do something that you're not. Nobody likes that. Literally nobody likes when you're not following through on the things that you say that you'll do. Another thing with supervisors is to admit when you're wrong. It's okay to say, I don't know. It's okay to say I made a mistake. It's okay to say, I didn't remember that I had talked with you about that. So going back to our humanity and the fact that if you want people to see you as a human, then you have to act like one. And part of acting like one is admitting when you're wrong and saying sorry when you need to. There's something like 70% of people who avoid difficult conversations at work. And I'm smiling because I've definitely been one of those people. Getting into the nitty gritty, especially with a boss, can be really, really uncomfortable. But what ends up happening if you don't have the conversation is all starts to boil underneath your skin. And over time, with the little conversations that you don't end up having, they're going to build and build and build and build into a complete blow up, or maybe you wanting to leave the company. So this is a great place for people to work on. I have a blog that can help you figure out some of the ways to have those difficult conversations. I'm definitely here and willing to help you have those conversations. The point is, however you need to have them, whatever support that you need, just make sure that you're getting that because that is going to serve you in the long run. Not just you, but your entire team, your entire organization, your entire happiness level. So if you're looking to be happier, you have to have those conversations. And it's okay that it's uncomfortable. It's okay that it's difficult. It's okay that you don't want to do it. But guess what? You have to do it anyway, and you don't have to do it alone. You can do it with some coaching. You can do it with some resources and some help. And believe me, I have been there many, many times. And the thing is having that difficult conversation is kind of like when you go to the gym. You know how you just like really don't want to go to the gym sometimes, but every single time you come out of the gym, you end up feeling better. And you're like, oh, why did I not want to go to the gym? That felt great. That's how difficult conversations feel, at least to me. So when you're coming out of that difficult conversation, you're going to pat yourself on the back and say, hey, it's great that I actually did the thing that I needed to do and I didn't avoid it. By you not avoiding these little things, you're actually not avoiding something much bigger, which is your own dissatisfaction with your job. So think about it for the long term. Don't think about it for the short term. And if you do that, then I'm sure it'll be a lot easier for you to actually just have the conversation that you need to have. So how are all these things related? Well, burnout thrives where trust is low. And so trust becomes low if you're not having these really important conversations. And if you're not having these important conversations, then the resentment starts to grow. You become more dissatisfied and you probably are going to feel disengaged, totally checked out from your job, and like you might want to leave. Sometimes you need to leave your job. I'm not saying that you don't, but in the case of actually seeing what's inside of your control to be able to navigate your own reactions, your own emotions, the way your nervous system is working, all of that is up to you. So all of that can be something that you work on, and it's a skill. So that means it builds over time. It's not something that you're born with just to be able to say, okay, everything's great here. No, you have to work on it, and it's okay to have coaching. It's okay to have help for some of those things. Again, just think about it for the long run. If you want to be stuck in this cycle of burnout and picking up other people's work and just going into work saying, well, what am I doing here? This doesn't feel satisfying to me. I don't feel fulfilled at all. What is the purpose of my life, of my job, of all of that? Then you can keep doing that. You can keep doing the same things over and over again. But if you don't want it to be this loop or this idea that you have to dislike your job, then there are other ways that I can help you and that you can help yourself by actually just doing the hard thing. You're capable of doing hard things and doing it anyway, even if you don't want to do it. So hopefully you can see that you don't need to fix all of these three things at once. And this is just the point of this video is to just get you thinking about what are the conversations that I'm avoiding? Why do I feel burnt out? Where are the places on my team that I feel like I could contribute more so that I was being more collaborative and more fun and more collegial with all the people that I work with? Once you start to kind of like slow everything down and figure out where it is that you actually do have some control, then that disengagement gets a lot easier to fix. So hopefully this video gave you some ideas to actually start thinking about where you play a role in this and also where you can get some help. So if you want to have an honest conversation and you want to do that with me, feel free to reach out. Happy to do so. And I can help you with whatever you need. Thanks for watching and subscribe for more updates and videos like this.